Right, so I'm here with Andrew Moyser from Macintyre Hudson, who are part of the Baker Tilly International Group, which is the 9th largest accountancy firm in the world. And Andrew, you're on the Business Innovation Group for Baker Tilly International, is that right?
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
So I thought it'd be really interesting to find out from you, because obviously you're heavily involved in this world of AI and technology within the world of accountancy, to find out where we're at with AI in reality, because there's a lot of talk about it. Where do you think we're actually at the moment?
It's a great question, Sam, and to be honest with you, you look at all of the press and all the publications, and what you'll find is all the large firms talking about AI as if it's in situ. Reality is AI is perhaps a little bit off where we actually will be or where we are at today, but it's definitely coming into the profession. The big things at the moment in our profession are looking at sort of data analytics and machine learning, getting computers to do some of the basic functions of what we used to do in accountancy, and how we can use those skills or that technology really to drive the compliance fees down and spot opportunities.
Okay, so in terms of your firm and what you're doing, how are you adapting to the opportunities that AI brings?
Okay, so some of the larger firms will have specialist teams which are developing technologies for internal use only.
Okay.
A firm of our size, even though we've got 3 billion of revenues across the world, we just don't quite have the capabilities to develop enough of that software solution ourselves. So we're looking to partner with software professionals and other solutions that are available to the market. So what we're looking at, first of all, is the use of robotic process automation. That sounds a flash word, and most people think of C3PO walking into their office and how cool that would be. But reality is, all that is software that sits within your IT environment.
Okay.
And imagine a macro, but a macro that works across multiple software. It's just programmed to take data from one software and to pop it into another software.
Okay.
That replaces a lot of the administration work.
Right.
As well as that, we're looking at sort of data analytics software where we can extract clients' information, rerun tests on it really quickly, and through what I'd call process mining, actually map where transactions go through a system.
Okay.
And spot where things aren't going where they should go. All of these skills are really sort of changing the way an accountant thinks. So to answer your question, what are we doing about how we deal with this technology? Well, the big thing's training, if I'm honest with you. Having to reevaluate our training process. So traditionally, most firms will have taken on a trainee and got them towards a qualified accountant. I think those days perhaps are not going to be the same going forward. We're going to need probably data analysts or data scientists, people that can basically grab the data from a client, run tests on that data, and then pass it up the chain to somebody to evaluate and look into.
Okay.
I think there's going to be a layer of data analysts going to be needed in most firms. The second layer is what I'd call more administrative people. So people that set up the RPA robots, people that deal with extracting basic tasks from clients. The interaction around the technology is going to need to be done at quite a low level. And then you're going to have the higher developers, if you like, the qualified accountants, which take that data, interpret that data, look for the opportunity, and then drive that consultancy work back to clients. That interaction with clients is never going to be replaced by technology. I don't think anyone believes that technology will replace a human in our service. I think it won't be replaced, but I think it will enhance what we're able to offer clients, and it will enhance the value proposition.
Okay.
And that's why it's so important for us to be on the ball.
So it's quite exciting for everybody involved, really, for you as a firm, but also for your clients.
Absolutely. I think with technology like this, it's the most exciting time in the industry. It's a revolution of what we offer clients and what we're able to offer staff. So for me, this has never been more exciting than where we're at today. Change is continuous. What technology solutions we look at today weren't on the market even 6 months ago.
Wow.
So for me, the change of pace here is rapid, and it can only benefit clients and staff going forward.
That's brilliant. So can you tell us a little bit about blockchain and how you think that's going to impact your profession?
Yeah, so blockchain, most commonly seen in the cryptocurrency world, that's what most cryptocurrency platforms run from. Blockchain itself actually is just a shared ledger. That's all it is. It's a ledger which sits across a network, which is, I suppose if you like, replicated across numerous computers, which means that nobody can tamper with that ledger because it can't be replicated across that many computers if it had been tampered with. So for me, blockchain is really interesting technology from an accountancy perspective, because if you think about anything where you need to share data, that's the one area where blockchain in theory could be used and actually make it a lot more secure. So to give you an example, if we were buying and selling a house, having all of that data sitting on the blockchain would be really vital. Why? Because not only could your bank and finance provider access the information, but your solicitor can and your buyer can. Everyone's accessing the same information together. And for me, that's why it's quite an innovative technology. Where it's coming into an accountancy is probably in different industries are looking at it differently at the moment. But probably the industry which is going, I suppose, full throttle, I'll say, is the shipping and logistics industry.
Okay.
Why? Because again, when you ship goods around the world, a lot of people need to understand where those goods are. So it could be for insurance reasons, it could be for, docks when they enter the harbour. There's lots of different reasons why those goods need to be tracked. And actually, believe it or not, most goods on the seas can actually be brought and sold as they're still travelling.
Okay.
So actually having a ledger which is available to the public is quite important, because there's numerous people that are trying to access the data at one point, and to have a true and fair record is really important. Now, where this could go to in accountancy is going to be quite interesting. For me, it really depends whether the technology is used across multiple suppliers, multiple companies, multiple countries. If it is used, then this could transform the way, for example, banking is done today, because all of a sudden we know what the truth is, and therefore that truth can be tapped into without anyone tampering with it, and that could potentially make accountancy far more open and far more difficult to commit fraud.
Okay. And you mentioned cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Have you had any clients that are utilising cryptos and
cryptocurrencies is it's been very hot. It's a hot topic because a lot of people made a lot of money off of cryptocurrencies, and in the accountancy world, cryptocurrencies cause us a few issues.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Number one, tracking it.
Yeah.
So a bit like PayPal, the problem with these general ledgers and when it comes to cryptocurrencies is proving ownership. How do we know that you really own that crypto account you say you do? And that wallet key, which is how you access that account, how do we know that's yours? So that's the first issue. Now, what we tend to do is we ask clients to do test transactions. So the reason I mentioned PayPal is PayPal asks you to dump 1p into it so that it can prove that the bank account where you transferred the 1p from was really yours. The same could be true in cryptocurrencies. How can we verify that's your account? We ask you to do a test transaction for us so we know that's your account. The other issue with cryptocurrencies is valuation. Valuation is going up and down fairly quickly, and therefore we need to be quite clear when we prepare a set of accounts. What is the value, and what did you buy it at, and what did you sell it at? Because that's really important. The third issue with cryptocurrencies is probably actually in relation to the taxation side of things. Now, whilst you may think it would be cash at bank, cryptocurrency is probably not regarded as cash by most of the financial reporting standards. Most of them will regard that as an investment, and therefore it's taxed as an investment as well.
Okay.
Now, most countries have got no legislation for this, I think there's only one country in the world at the moment, which I think is Malta, which is actually bringing in legislation on cryptocurrencies and blockchain. Japan is another country where things are perhaps progressing far more rapidly, but most countries have no legislation, so therefore people are just interpreting rules at the moment, coming up with their best practice, best guidance.
Right.
But it's still an area where lots more will come out in the future years.
And then suddenly there'll be a legislation change and everyone will have to...
Oh, absolutely. Because at the end of the day, these sorts of technologies are new, and actually one of the hardest problems at the moment is regulation. So this world has perhaps not been regulated up until now. That could change going forward. The other thing which will definitely change will be the taxation elements of this. Every country in the world is looking at tightening up on some of their taxation, particularly with what's happened with digital services. So where digital services are provided now, the profits of those companies have been able to be diverted or transferred out of the countries where the original sale took place. That world is changing, and we're seeing already companies such as the UK bringing in sort of digital services tax, and therefore I do think in the future there will be a tax on cryptocurrencies.
Okay.
And Bitcoin.
Okay, makes a lot of sense. How would you say businesses should prepare for AI arriving?
It's a really important question. AI is here. Whether you like it or not, AI is part of everyday life. Even the likes of Siri is using artificial intelligence to some degree. I think businesses are going to start seeing AI come in at all different levels. So whether it's your website, some sort of talking bot or chat bot as they're called, that sort of technology is available and it's relatively cheap.
They're not so good though at the moment.
They may not be so good, but the technology is moving on. I mean, you probably heard the likes of Google. It's now possible to book a restaurant through a bot. That technology is there. They're bots that allow you to make appointments with people automatically, and they'll talk back as if they're a human. So I think technology is going to come in all different levels in any company. It's definitely going to have an impact on finance. I think robotic process automation is being looked at by most of the FTSE 350 companies at the moment, and some of that technology is mainstream. It is being used. I think once you're using robotic process automation or machine learning, I use the two hand in hand, but it's not too long where you can then replace algorithms that brings in artificial intelligence. Technology is now at a point where it can replicate pretty much the human mind. It may not be able to necessarily perform judgments and estimates quite like we do, but it definitely can reproduce most of the thinking and most of the visualizations that we do. Another important point about AI, and for me this is probably the game changer which will apply to most industries, is the use of what I've called visualization or digitalization of robotics. So for example, using simple things like a VR screen in front of you, it's not going to be that long before people are trained using VR. In other words, they bring an item or a screen in front of their eyes, and that screen replicates what they can see with their eyes. But more importantly, they can add to the screen to say, this here's the screw, if you turn it this way, this is what it does, and almost help people fix products, fix machinery, or even learn on the job.
Wow.
And that's what's coming.
That's exciting. For businesses that are using, so web-based platforms, websites, things like that, you mentioned chatbots and the kind of the automated calendar assistants, things like that. Are there any kind of, feel free to name some brands that you've sort of experienced that you like. Are there any that have stood out to you that you found useful? I've tried a few. I found some of them are better than others. Are there any that you've kind of picked up on and thought that's really good and you've started rolling it out?
It's an interesting technology there. And I think technology in different areas or different industries is you're going to some of the names I've mentioned will be really relevant for my industry, but not necessarily relevant for all industries. So, give you an example of one. This is some technology in the contract world. The software is called Kira. So, Kira software will allow you to scan contracts into a system. This is really probably for the legal world, if I'm honest. So, the legal world now can scan contracts into a computer. The computer can read that contract and it can pull out all of the important clauses and highlight that to the user.
Wow.
That sort of technology is available on the market as at today. Most of the big law firms are using that sort of technology and will continue to do so. Microsoft, you've always got to pay attention to what Microsoft are doing.
Yeah.
One of the biggest computer companies in the world, obviously. They brought out some technology which was absolutely fascinating. They basically, when the US released the JFK files, Microsoft basically analysed all of that data and made that available on the World Wide Web. If you search the JFK files and actually look for them, you can actually then search throughout that data. Now, whether that's a handwritten note, a picture, or whatever it is, it can actually link all the evidence together. That technology is definitely going to come into mainstream, definitely in the legal world, probably into the accountancy world as well. Another bit of technology, XI.AI. That's a bit of technology which allows you to have what I call a remote PA.
Okay.
So, for example, Sam, if we want to arrange a meeting, I would copy in my assistant, my virtual assistant, and ask her to make an appointment with you. She would then be emailing you, Sam, to try and find an available date in your diary and my diary, and she would make that appointment. Now, that would all be done through artificial intelligence, and you probably wouldn't even know that technology's out there and what she's doing.
Excellent. I'll look that one up. Brilliant. Well, thank you very much for your time, Andrew. Really good to speak to you.
Good to see you, Sam.
Take care.
Cheers.